So we just had some massive news come out from Tom Pelissero on X in the past 10 to 15 minutes. He shared this, saying the Packers and offensive tackle Zach Tom have agreed to terms on a historic 4-year, $88 million contract extension with a max value of $92 million. The deal includes a $30.2 million signing bonus, which is the largest signing bonus for an offensive lineman in the history of the NFL. The deal was done by Michael Hoffman and Nate Sullivan of Sports Law and Management Slam at Mr. Hoffy. So this was one we were watching all offseason, and I was wondering when this was going to get done because it sounded like the Packers were going to secure Zach Tom for the long haul because he has been one of the most consistent tackles in the league for the past couple seasons. And so now they make it official. And with this $88 million over 4 years, that puts him at $22 million per year, which makes him the third highest paid tackle in the NFL. And I think when you compare it to some of the other tackles ahead of him with Penei Sewell, highest paid right tackle at $28 million per year, Lane Johnson, next highest at $25 million per year, I think it's a very reasonable number to get Zach Tom at $22 million per year because when you factor in the salary cap going up year after year after year, while Zach Tom may be the third highest paid right now, after next season, the following season after that, I think his contract is going to look more and more reasonable. And of course, here for that overall number, $22 million per year, they said he gets the highest signing bonus for an offensive lineman in NFL history. So they definitely made it worth his while. But I think based on how he's played, he has been one of the more consistent players on this Packers team for the past couple seasons. He's a very solid run blocker, a very solid pass blocker. And I think for this number, it's very reasonable for him. I don't think it's an overpay. I don't think it's crazy undervalued either. I think it's a very reasonable spot. And I remember looking at some projections early in the offseason, earlier from Spotrac, and they predicted him at $21.7 million per year. So they were pretty much spot on. And they had compared some of his stats to Penei Sewell's stats just when it came to hurries allowed per game and sacks allowed per game. And Penei Sewell had Zach Tom beat in both hurries allowed per game. He had 1. Sewell had 1 hurry allowed per game. Zach Tom 1.41 allowed per game. And then Penei Sewell had 0.09 sacks allowed per game. Tom 0.15 sacks allowed per game. And so it made sense that he was going to make less than Penei Sewell. I don't think it was obvious that he was head and shoulders above everyone else, but I do think he's in that upper echelon, when it comes to tackles, and the Packers paid him as such. And so I just think that when you have a player who's played this well, especially at some of these premium positions, it's just very easy to make the decision where you're going to pay them a ton of money because in this day and age, when you're paying quarterbacks $55 million per year, the next most important thing is to surround them with guys who will protect them and keep them injury-free, not getting hit all the time, every single game. And so I assume Jordan Love is very happy with this Zach Tom signing because he has been one of the more reliable Packers players in the past couple seasons. And you look at the past 2 years, he's been very reliable when it comes to a health perspective. He started in 17 games in the past 2 seasons. So this is the kind of player that you want to pay upper echelon money, and you can't pay everyone like this. You have to choose and decide who is worth it. But I think, most people saw Zach Tom as one of these top-tier tackles, and I expected him to make a lot of money. But to be $6 million less than Penei Sewell on a per-year basis, I think it's a very good value for the Packers that they got here with Zach Tom. And I think going into next season, the next year, the next couple of seasons, this contract is going to look better and better. And so now when we look at this Packers offensive line overall, the Packers bring in Aaron Banks this offseason to a large, $77 million deal. They decide to, draft Anthony Belton second round. And I think now because you are paying, basically 3 offensive linemen, pretty massive money overall, Elton Jenkins, Aaron Banks, and Zach Tom, they had to find a way to bring in some cheap contract value just because you can't pay every single person. You can't pay up at every single position on the offensive line. And so I do think the Packers are set up pretty well for the future with Aaron Banks and Zach Tom getting these big deals, with Jordan Morgan still being a young player on his rookie deal. Hopefully he can solidify himself maybe at right guard, maybe at left tackle, and then maybe Anthony Belton as well, being on a cheap rookie deal, can sort of find his way here, whether that's left tackle, potentially right guard. So I love this signing. I love this move. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you want more Packers content, I will be out with training camp updates, other Packers news, so make sure you have the post notifications turned on so you do not miss any Packers content.